Welcome to the webinar. And in terms of the sponsors, we have Job Transition Strategy. Essentially, it's made up of a team of experts assisting in transitioning from the job that people do not have much of an interest in into something that they love. Part of that program comprises a self-awareness module that's been made up through alliance with a world-renowned program through the Gallup's Strength program. Perhaps, I guess, some sort of an affiliation with a strengths coach and a careers coach that would help you determine where you're coming from, where the gaps are, and where the journey is. A fairly detailed program would then be initiated, which allows for the individual to transition from where they're coming from to where they're heading. At the end of the day, it's all about treating your career as an income generating asset. Just like you have a house which needs maintenance or a car that needs servicing, pretty much every career needs some form of input, and Job Transition Strategy allows for that to happen as people are currently in their job. If you're interested, go to the website www.jobtransitionstrategy.com. Have a look at the videos that I have there. There is a free download in terms of how to get the best out of your career. And there's a whole bunch of services that you can take advantage of. In terms of the other sponsor, it's My Electrical Community, and you would have heard of that through the work that I do through the mentoring and networking sessions that I have put in place. Essentially, it's a peer-to-peer business and social network for individuals with an electrical background. The whole idea is bringing everyone with an electrical background across Australia on the same page, and in doing so, enhancing the reputation and standing of the profession and those within it. There have been a whole series of events which have included networking and mentoring events in Sydney several times, Brisbane and Melbourne. And the events to come include a site visit in Melbourne and networking sessions that we are having on the 14th of October in Sydney and Brisbane, and on the 16th of October 16th of October in Brisbane, and the 14th of October in Sydney and Melbourne. We're also going to be initiating a public speaking forum. So those that are interested in improving their public speaking skills can certainly do that through what's being organized through My Electrical Community. Again, if you'd like to know more about that, go to the website www.myelectricalcommunity.org, and there's ample information on it there. I'm going to start, I guess, the actual presentation. So let me share the screen. Hope everyone can see my screen. In terms of, why did I decide to have a webinar on networking? What I've seen is that whether it's in regards to my setting up My Electrical Community, whether it's in regards to the businesses that I've run, or it's in relation to the successes that I've had, I've seen networking as being very critical to the path that I've had to date. But what I've also found through organizing the different events over the last 6 to 12 months, I've seen that it's not something that comes easily to everyone. I see that the very individuals that I'm catering these events for, the networking sessions, I find that they're not able to leverage it to their full advantage. So I see groups of mentees, I guess, pretty much, talking to each other without engaging and involving themselves with the rest of the groups. And I also feel that there are some faux pas, complete no-nos in terms of how the whole networking process takes place. So in that sense, I felt that this was something that would be a very worthwhile exercise for anyone that comes to future sessions, not only through My Electrical Community Job Transition Strategy, but any other networking sessions that they go and take advantage of. In terms of what I'm going to be covering today, I'll start off with why is networking important, the basic principles of networking, the fact that networking doesn't come easily always to everyone. So in that sense, well, what happens if you're not someone that's an extrovert and just can go out there and take advantage of that social setting? some absolute no-nos in terms of what one shouldn't be doing if they are involved in a networking session. I'll be talking about how LinkedIn has become a very powerful mechanism to network with, and how that needs to be done collaboratively with face-to-face networking. So it's a very good adjunct to what used to be in the past as being the only means, which was face-to-face. But through LinkedIn, it's a great way to develop those connections and to develop those networks. I'll finally summarize the key learnings, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. In terms of why is networking important, what you'll find is that it opens up opportunities which are not otherwise accessible to everyone. So if you look at whether it's marketing, sales, whether it's job hunting, quite often emails, phone discussions, etc., do not allow for relationships to be built. And what you'll find is that in terms of any of the networking that takes place, you may well be able to find out projects, may well be able to find out opportunities within the company, within the industry, that you may not otherwise be aware of, which would help you and put you ahead of the game as compared to someone else that's not being able to talk to the individuals that come from the right industry, the right company, and hence in that sense, the fact that individuals are present at those events that we run, or to events that any of the other industry organizations run, allows them to take advantage of opportunities which otherwise wouldn't be available. In terms of the differentiation that I talk about, Archie, let's take the instance of someone applying for a job. Now, if all you're doing is submitting a CV, the CV is 8 pieces of paper, and in a pile of 500 CVs, the 8 pieces of paper are as indifferentiable from any of the other 499 pieces of paper. So if all you're doing is flicking CVs to job ads, it's very difficult for the person that's looking at the CVs to differentiate between the 8 pieces of paper from you as compared to the 8 pieces of paper from anyone else. So in terms of networking, it certainly allows a face to be put to a name. It allows for the relationship to be developed, for more information to be obtained about the industry, the company, the culture of the company, and the sort of people that work there, so that to a certain extent it gives you better information and helps piece together the pieces of the jigsaw to form in your own mind the picture that you need to then have the certainty of knowing where you want to head or not head. In terms of the third point, it's all about relationships, and quite often, even within a company that's going through redundancies, retrenchments, of course, the fact that the individual has the capabilities, that's a given. Without the fact that there are capabilities, you wouldn't even get the job or continue to hold the job. But if there are a bunch of individuals who have those capabilities, and if you built a relationship with someone, there's a better than average chance that you will retain your role on the basis of the relationships built. So a lot of it is in people like to work with those they like working with. In terms of the basic principles of networking, one of the first things that I would advise is start networking before you need it. And what I mean by that is it becomes very obvious if you're in a networking session and there is the stench, the smell of desperation on someone as they're trying to get a job, or achieve their objective within what could be a very short period of time, because they've reached that stage where desperation starts to creep in. Networking is all about relationships. So the whole idea is do that early in the piece. Don't do that 2, 4, 6 weeks with some sort of an end date where you've got at the back of your mind, I've got to get this job in the next 6 weeks. The next principle that I have out there is use the networking to build relationships. It's about I guess getting to know the individual better, getting to know through them as I have mentioned before, the industry, the company they work from, and using that as an avenue to really um, find out what is it that I can contribute in this dialogue, in this relationship, and what is it that I can receive in that dialogue. So in any networking session, remember it's a two-way street. I think the example that sometimes gets mentioned is in a networking session. Once a graduate was introduced to a CEO, and the graduate was floundering around trying to figure out how to relate. I guess that whole session with this very senior executive. It turns out that as the discussion took place, they spoke about a variety of other topics, and it came about that this the senior CEO had his partner that was going through a very traumatic period of time because of a very serious medical ailment. And this graduate, as it turns out, knew someone specifically from that field that he was able to garner advice. So it was nothing to do with the job, but more about just trying to understand the person, understand, I guess, the mechanics of what got each of them to tick, and to try and have an avenue of give and take, so to speak. One of the other things that I tell people in terms of networking is don't dismiss anyone as being unimportant. So if you find that you've gone to a relevant event, so if you're in an event that doesn't make any sense for you, which seems improbable, but if you've gone to an event, whether it's run by your industry organization, so when my electrical community organizes that, it's more for individuals with an electrical background. Don't keep looking over your shoulder and keep looking at the next batch of individuals you're going to be moving to. If for some reason you feel that the set of people or the person that you're talking to does not have any relevance to where you're heading, sometimes they, through the relationships that they have, so that particular individual might not themselves be able to help you, but what you'll find is that they may well have their own relationships built enough for them to be able to open up, guide you, and help you in terms of where your journey is at. So don't dismiss anyone as being unimportant. Give that the time that it needs, and use that avenue to really have a two-way exchange. Establish common interests. So, get to know the person. Start to understand where there's some commonality, and use that as the basis to then go on to other areas that interest you. Listen, ask questions. So I guess in the early stages, what I would suggest is make sure that you listen as much as you speak. Quite often, you'll find that in networking sessions, some people hog the conversation, and you want to make sure that you enabling, I guess, everyone within the group to be able to do the same. But being a good listener helps, because quite often something that's being indicated during that networking session will allow you to draw on that and be able to come in at the right moment, and be able to stake your claim as someone within that group that's having that genuine two-way dialogue that builds relationships. Have a plan. So before you get into that networking session, um, practice your pitch. So if someone was to ask you, what is it that you do? Have something that's clear in your own mind. What is it that you're going to convey about what is it that you do? And in terms of an exit plan that I mentioned about, there are times when after you finish talking to a group, you feel that you do need to move on from that group to another group, just so that you can work around the room and get to know everyone else within, that's come during that evening. Have some sort of an exit plan. So even if it means I just need to go off and get a drink, or just need to head to the gents, whatever that might be, but find an avenue to have a reasonable excuse that allows you to gravitate from that group, do what you need to do, and then when you come back, join another group that allows you to work the room and get to meet as many people as possible. Um, I guess this is the section where, if you are someone to whom networking does not come naturally, what do you do? The sort of things I convey is, go out there, be relaxed, make sure that you have a smile on your face. Uh, People would much rather gravitate to someone that does have that trait, rather than someone that's got a frown on their face. So, smile. Start with familiarity, and what I mean by that is, if you see a colleague someone from the same industry. If you've been to more than one event, someone that you've seen previously, start with familiarity. Start by talking to them, get the vocal cords going, and through that, then start to move in talking to people that could be complete strangers. But that stranger, after you've seen them on that particular occasion, will not be a stranger for the next networking session that you head towards. So the main aim is start with those that you know, and then move on to those that are not people that you know through the room. Have some sort of a strategy for chit chat. So it might be what's happening with the economy. I mean, in terms of, for example, over the last couple of days, the share market has gone berserk. And that could be a topic for small talk. It could be something that's happening in the industry, but just it's a conversation starter. So maybe before you go to the event, think about some conversation starters that allow, if someone hasn't already done so, and there's a quiet pause, allows you to initiate that small talk. Ask questions, because in the early stages, the question takes less time than the response that's provided. So the point I make out there is, in being able to ask broad questions, which allow the eliciting of answers. So questions such as, what industry are you from? Joe Blow, and if it's Joe, so hi Joe. Tell me a bit about the industry that you're from, and I guess once you've done that, you could talk to them about the fact that, is that industry, what's the current status of the industry? Is that one that's going through growth, or what's the current situation? You could then actually look towards asking questions such as, to what extent is your company being able to play a part in several of these projects? And the next question could then be, when does the actual um, uh, uh, resourcing for those projects happen? Now, through those four questions, you have to a certain extent ask, are there any jobs that are going to come about through the company that they're in? But by asking those broad questions, you've been able to guide the discussion through knowing a little bit from them about the industry, I guess the sort of projects in that industry, and whether their companies won or not won any business. And even if their company's not won any business, what companies have won that? Because again, through those questions, you're opening up your vocal cords, and you're getting someone else to talk and provide you with the responses. Listen. So when someone's talking, don't be distracted. I give them full focus. Remember their name, and make sure that you say that name more than once in the conversation. Um, have a business card ready, because uh, when someone's going through the room and meeting with 7 to 10 to 15 people, it's very easy to forget names. So if they have a business card, take the business card, exchange the business card that you have, and perhaps make a quick note even while you're there, so that you can remember something, I guess, key about the individual you're meeting. And it shows them that you are taking an interest in them. So perhaps it could be just a few dot points, on that business card as you're talking to them, and that allows you to anchor who that person is, what their strengths were, so that when you get back home, you're able to, I guess, get in touch with them, knowing what part of the whole jigsaw they play a part within in the picture you're trying to form in your head. Be yourself. So there is no sense in trying to force yourself to be extroverted if you're not. So that's why I say, be a good listener. Start with familiarity. Be yourself, because quite often that frailty that people see may well be the emotion that's evoked from them, for them to want to help you. So there's nothing wrong in just being yourself. Tap into common interests. You'll be surprised. It could be sport, it could be the weather, it could be. You need to probably, through the questions, find out where their eyes light up and they want to talk more. And that's really all about having the emotional intelligence to recognize what is it that's actually getting their interest. And to that extent, if you are well read, or at least before you come into the event, done some homework about what's happening, in this particular time frame and the environment that we're in, it will allow that conversation to flow better. Be prepared. So I guess try to have questions answered, as I had mentioned earlier. What is it that you do? What's your journey? Where are you at? So those sort of questions, have that at the back of your mind, so they come across easily and quickly without you needing to flounder, for those, because those should be things that best yourself. If it's information about yourself, you should be able to speak about that freely. Ask for introductions. So if they talk about the fact that look, in X industry, it's won Y projects, but our business has not. And to the question, well, if your company hasn't, so which particular companies have won that business? If they say it's A, B, and C company, ask them. Look, it would be really helpful for me to talk to some individuals from that company. Do you know anyone from that company? Say even tonight, in this particular room that we're in, or someone that that I could go and talk to, because I'd love to be mentored. I'd love to go and just be able to ask some questions so I can get a better understanding of the industry. So ask for introductions. Get over your fear of rejection. So recognize that in every 1 out of 10 instances, you will get into a group where the alignment is not happening. You'll find, for whatever reason, the conversation's not flowing. Don't worry about that. There is that happens even to the most experienced individuals. And so, yeah, I would say, take small risks, and don't worry about the fact that in those small instances where if there's rejection, move on. There are lots more individuals that are willing to guide you. And then follow up. So with those brief bullet points that you've taken down on either the business card that you've been handed, or through the discussion that you remember at the end of the day, when you get back home, try and, I guess, use that time to quickly summarize what's happened and follow up the next day with those individuals, just to keep that iron warm and build that relationship. Because the first meeting that you have with those individuals, all that does is it's an introduction. What you do from then on in building the relationship is what's going to help you down the track and help differentiate yourself. In terms of the absolute no-nos, in terms of what I suggest people shouldn't be doing, there are several times when I've seen in the networking events that have been organized, where in the first sentence or couple of sentences, it comes out, have you got a job that I could apply to? And quite often the individuals in that room haven't come there with a job in mind. They've come as senior individuals willing to volunteer their time. And in volunteering their time, they're more than happy to talk about whatever they know, including a background from their career, the industry, the company they come from. But if they don't have a job, and if you put them on the back foot by asking them for a job, you might find that they might themselves try to go through their own exit strategy of exiting that group because they feel they can't contribute, and you've lost out on the opportunity to know more about everything else they could guide and help you with, including other introductions of people they might know. So don't go straight into the job directly. Don't pick polarizing topics like religion and political inclinations. So in that idle chit chat, leave out anything that's going to polarize people, either in terms of religion or their political inclinations. Never apologize when asking for a question. At the end of the day, in a networking session, you are there as an equal with the individual that's standing beside you. So even though they might be a CEO, they've made themselves available, and in that particular moment of time, it's two individuals on an equal footing having a two-way dialogue. So don't apologize when asking a question. If you do, you're actually, I guess, to a certain extent, denigrating the very question that you're asking, and they won't treat it, I guess, with the importance that it deserves, because they feel, you yourself don't feel that you seem to be encroaching on someone else's time when you shouldn't be. I've already mentioned that smile. Don't have a frowning face, because it always helps when you are relaxed. And I know it's easy to say that, but perhaps when you're home, try and practice that. In front of a mirror, just um, um, have some role plays perhaps, and keep that at the back of your mind. And I recognize it's easier said than done, but it's something that you probably just should keep at the back of your mind. Another aspect that you should be mindful of is, don't have both your hands loaded with food and drink. it's always nice to establish that that hand-to-hand shake. So if someone says, "Hi, I'm uh, uh, Ram Smith," just stick your hand out and say, "Hi, look, I'm Ray Pavri. Nice to meet you." It's always nice to do that. Also, when you go to a networking event, uh, try not to eat and drink like there's no tomorrow. And at the end of the day, you're out there to, of course, people come there. At the end of the day, they've got to be able to take part in whatever there is. But recognize the fact that you're out there building relationships while, I guess, going out there and having your eat and your drink. And I've seen a few people just go on, guzzle several drinks, and it becomes very difficult for the individual at the other side to be able to develop a dialogue, because um, the focus is completely different. Um, another aspect is never go to an event unprepared. Have a plan. What are the sort of things that I want to walk away with, um, and then figure out almost, I guess, your steps towards the plan. So if trying to obtain job leads is important for me, what are the steps towards that? The knowledge of the industry. What are the projects that have been in the pipeline or have been announced over the last, say, 6 to 9 months? Because quite often projects that were announced 9 months will actually start staffing in that time frame of 9 months to 12 months after the project has been announced. And prepare your pitch. So try and get, I guess, it's a bit like, if you were running your own business and you went to a venture capitalist, and the venture capitalist said, "Look, tell me, why you need the money. Tell me why I should actually invest in you." They have that pitch, nothing more than 30 seconds to a minute about what depicts where they're coming from. So if someone wants to tell you, "Tell me a little bit about yourself," practice that and be able to convey that in as best a manner that allows you to market yourself without going into, I guess, a long thesis. Another thing that I tell people is don't go on a business card pickup spree. So I've seen individuals literally whiz around the room and try to get as many business cards as possible in the expectation that now that they have their mobile number or email address, they will be able to contact them the next day after the event. The emphasis here is on quality, not quantity, because even if you have a mobile number, um, in 9 times out of 10, you will get a voicemail, or you will, on an email, find that people may not respond back. So unless you build that relationship, just that business card and any of those contacts is not going to help you. Don't speak to hog the space or be quiet as a mouse. And what I'm indicating out here is have some emotional intelligence to sense when it's time to listen and it's time to contribute. So in this particular instance, if there are 5 individuals as part of the group, uh, approximately 1/5 of the time is spent, I guess, talking and listening. And in terms of those that are finding it difficult to speak, perhaps think about open-ended questions that allow for others that are more vocal to be able to contribute. But you're asking the question has already allowed you to put your a stamp on that particular group. Um, Another thing would be, don't let a network go cold after the event. So make sure you follow up in some shape or form. And the last thing out there is, don't stalk your contacts. If someone, um, I guess, does not respond to you the next day, don't harass them. Leave a bit of time. Perhaps find another avenue to do that, another mechanism to do that. So if you've sent an email, perhaps after a week or so, send them an SMS just to see if they're interested in talking to you. If they don't respond back, this is the 1 out of 10, the 2 out of 10, where you recognize, look, this isn't going to work. That's fine. You probably need to build a better relationship the next time you go to another networking event. But don't harass them, because the last thing you want to do is, if they see you the next time around, for them to walk in a different direction. So it's all about building your relationships. Even if it doesn't happen the first time around, that's okay. You will have other opportunities. As far as this particular point, using LinkedIn to network, LinkedIn nowadays is a very powerful mechanism to get to know about the people that you are about to meet or have met. It tells you not only about their work history, but about their interests, if they're involved in a charity, if they are from a particular part of the world that they've actually studied and lived in, it comes through quite easily. So it's a great avenue to build relationships, because the more you know about a person, the better you're able to determine those common interests, and the better equipped you are, that the next time that you go to a networking event, you will be able to go out there and continue to build your bridges. So in the first instance, having a LinkedIn profile is critical. If you don't have one, I'd strongly suggest and advise that you speak to someone that can help to help you build a relevant LinkedIn profile. Keep it professional. So it's not the Facebook. So, in terms of social media, there are certain, I guess, Facebook mechanisms like Facebook that have a whole variety of um, social flavor to that. Keep LinkedIn professional. I've seen people have as their photo, them with a drink, or letting their hair down. It's all about the professionalism that you're able to show on that particular profile. Keep your profile alive, and what I mean by that is, if you've gone out there and written a white paper, if you've gone out there and presented, if you've gone out there and if someone's provided uh, a comment that you can perhaps add to, or comment on, it just lets others know that you're active, and keeps your name alive in their mind. So keep your profile alive, uh, and don't go into bursts. So spend 6 weeks, I guess, going out there and developing white papers, inputs into blogs, and then go cold for the next 6 months, then jump back in, because that's really not going to help your cause. Knowing how to structure a LinkedIn profile is as important as having the profile. So a lot of the recruiters nowadays go through and use the advanced feature to look through title, or look through, I guess, the generic word search. So if it was electrical, or Alan Bradley, or it might be commissioning. So in that sense, if they're searching for those terms, what that means is that you need to include in your CV the search terms that you feel are going to bring out your strengths, so that if someone was to do a search, your CV comes up in their search criteria. So knowing what those hooks are is very important, and those hooks are such that if someone was to either pick up the phone or send you an email, when you do respond back to them, they see you to be very strong, and shortlist you. So put hooks that bring out your strengths, not just things that you are uh, vaguely familiar with. Visibility is important. So go out there and blog, go out there and do some research and write a white paper occasionally. If necessary, team up with a couple of other individuals and jointly submit a white paper. Um, Knowing how to reach out is important as well. So once you've established the connection, you may know that you can purchase through LinkedIn a set of LinkedIn emails, and that allows you to reach out to even someone that you do not know, but through LinkedIn you're able to send them an email that will definitely reach them. Another way to reach out is to look through a profile and find out what groups they belong to, and then join those groups, because through being a part of the same group, you can send a message to that individual from that group, even if you all are still strangers. So knowing all of the nuances and I guess techniques to reach out is important. And again, if you're not sure about how to do that, how to leverage LinkedIn to your advantage, reach out to an expert. Someone from Job Transition Strategy can definitely help, particularly in this particular area. And other aspects are, how do you stay current? So if you've gone out there and changed your job, make sure that's mentioned. If you've got a promotion, make sure you mention that. If you've gone out there and presented, make sure you mention that. So keep it current. Join groups that I guess provide others with an indication of what you are all about. So if you believe in a social cause, and if you've joined a particular group that demonstrates that social cause, put that in. In fact, it's very important to be doing that, because people want to see a well-rounded individual. So it's in your best interest to take part in some social causes and do something that contributes back to society. And in terms of how to reach out to those that are not connected, I've already mentioned about how you can do that by either joining the groups or through InMail. When you're reaching out to someone, make it personal. So if you're sending, I guess, a connection request, you can either do the standard spiel that comes across when you just click that connect me via LinkedIn button, which just sends out a standard spiel, or you can make it personal by using those 3 or 4 lines in that connection request to make it seem like you've actually taken some effort, and that will just give you a better chance to establish that LinkedIn connection than it would be if you just press the button and use the LinkedIn standard spiel to go across. Remember, quality is important, not quantity, because when you are doing your own searches for the right people, if you've got someone with an electrical, a chef, an accountant, a welder, a pilot in your connections, even if you have 1,000 connections, when you go out there and search, you'll have so much clutter in your search results that you will be not able to take advantage of what LinkedIn is all about. So to give an example, I've got close to 3,800 contacts, and 95% of them are people with an electrical background. So I've been very, very clinical about trying to make sure that all of my connections are individuals with an electrical background. And just the way LinkedIn works, every connection has their own 6 degrees of separation with other individuals. So the more defined and precise that network is, the more that'll help you in reaching out to the right people through that. So try to establish quality. Quantity comes through time. So I've actually been on LinkedIn for now the last almost 8 to 10 years, and it's been a progressive, I guess, building up of those networks, the quality and quantity. But that's because I guess I put some focus on it. But even 100 to 200 quality connections are a lot better than 500 scattered across the whole place with no relevance. Develop relationships. So once you've established that connection, go through their profile, try to and find something that that establishes a common interest. It's almost the same as you would be in a face-to-face networking situation. But in the case of LinkedIn, it's even better because you can see as much information as that individual's put about themselves, and you can find something that interests them and perhaps use that as an avenue to do that idle chit chat that you need when you pick up the phone and talk to them for the first time. And the same with any networking session, give and you shall receive. So in that sense, try to make sure that you are willing and able to contribute as much as you desire to receive from that relationship. So in terms of the key learnings from today's session, networking is all about relationships. Like all relationships, there must be give and take, and that does take time. Don't expect to do that literally in the 2 or 3 weeks that you need to desperately get a job because of your own financial circumstances. It's about the fact that you need to build that relationship, and that relationship will more than provide returns, but it'll take time to build that relationship. Like anything, have a plan. So whether it's through LinkedIn, whether it's when you go to the face-to-face sessions, have some sort of a game plan. If you're not comfortable, start small. So in the early stages, go out there and meet people that you're familiar with. Go out there and meet other colleagues. Go out there and meet people that you feel will just get you into the framework of being able to start moving to situations where you're able to take small risks. Risks about meeting senior guys that are complete strangers, but being able to build relationships with them, because that's what it's all about. There are some basic things that you need to be mindful about, but remember the fact it's just all about mutual respect. If you keep that at the back of your mind, that it's all about mutual respect, the rest of it will just come. And networking is best when you combine all forms of networking. So the face-to-face, using the phone, using the SMS, the LinkedIn, and just use it as a broader strategy, not just as a single dimensional strategy. Perhaps if there's one thing that I could add to that is, uh, try to make sure that you don't uh, do networking as a one-off event. So there are a lot of individuals that will attend a networking session and feel they've gone out there and got 12 or 15 business cards, and then they will stop doing that for the next 6 months, and then they'll come back and do it again. And these are the very individuals who will find that networking hasn't helped them because they haven't gone and built that relationship. So I would say put aside an hour a month, go out there and look at an industry association that's putting in place these networking events, and invest that 1 hour each month to go in and do that. If you do need inputs from a specialist to help you take advantage of the likes of Job Transition Strategy, because they can go out there, help you to understand your strengths, understand, I guess, where you're heading, and use all of the tools that there are out there at the end of the day to further your cause. But networking is certainly a great way to differentiate yourself, and I'd strongly recommend everyone to take full advantage of it. That probably finishes, I guess, the presentation. If there are any questions, probably if you could put them down in this Q&A. So ask if any questions that you have, and I'm more than happy to be able to address them. Are there any questions that anyone has? Okay. Look, it seems like there aren't any questions at this stage. If you've got any questions, uh, you could email them to me separately. But I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and until next time, happy networking. Cheers.